You know what? With some of these new movesets coming in for some of these returning Pokemon, I might actually start loving Draft League again. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Right, Teacher in the house, and we're back with a bit of a discussion video today. We're going to be looking at the new move pool additions for the returning Pokemon in the Crown Tundra, update due on October 22nd. And it's a really interesting thread. There's a lot of really cool moves here. Now, a lot of you guys know that I've been dialing back on the competitive Pokemon stuff recently. I kind of fell out of the love of the Draft League format. The metagame for me wasn't all that exciting. A lot of the Pokemon were kind of just either just dominant or just kind of bland, and I didn't really feel like I was enjoying it all that much. But with some of these Pokemon coming back, some of these new moves pools coming back, I think Draft League is going to change a lot, and I think there's going to be a lot of interesting new tools that we get to play with, so we're going to talk about that here. One thing that is worth pointing out, looking at the exclusions, there's no Gliscor, which makes me a little sad. I kind of would have loved Gliscor to come back, but we don't have Gliscor. But either way, we're going to keep on moving, and let's just go through a lot of these new move pools. Now, I don't do Uber's Draft, so a lot of these don't really appeal to me all that much, although it's nice to see Blaziken finally getting close combat and U-turn, and stuff like that. It's worth looking at Lando. Obviously he gets Weatherboard to replace Hidden Power Ice, which is kind of annoying. Does get Scorching Sands as well, although I don't usually use Special Lando all that much. Could be interesting point of contention for Draft League. Obviously Lando I tends to be allowed in with Sand Force, and Lando T is usually a tier 1 pick. I still want it banned personally. I hate Lando T. A lot of people know I really don't like that one, as a lot of people. But moving further down, we do have Zygarde to talk about here. Did get Breaking Swipe, which is a nice little new move. Did get High Horsepower, of course, but it does have 1,000 arrows, so it doesn't really matter. The interesting one here for me, though, is Scale Shot. Obviously, Zy 50 is very typically banned, as, of course, is Zygarde Complete as Ubers. Zydoggo is kind of a bit of an interesting one. It's usually a tier 3 pick in relatively standard draft format. I don't know how much this would change. Coil plus Scale Shot is a very strong move combination, because Coil gives you plus attack and accuracy, which means that Scale Shot doesn't miss. So that could be something that might push Zydoggo up into tier 2 instead of tier 3 pick. Not sure. Definitely difficult to tell with the metagame. But Zydoggo definitely got a nice little buff if it wants to run Scale Shot in case of like subsets and stuff like that. It gives it a few more tools. Could still just run Bandit or Scarf though, which is typically what most Zydoggos ran. Alright, let's look at some of these that you tend to see. Steeler gets Cosmic Power. Oh god. And it gets Grassy Glide as well. Wow. Okay. So, in this article, a lot of the more notable ones, according to the article writer, is in bold. But I personally feel like they've missed one here with Grassy Glide, because that can be very scary. Pair that up with things like Bulu, which we'll talk about in a bit. Or Rillaboom. But yeah, Cosmic Power, definitely nasty. Solar Seed is already bulky enough as it is, does get Leech Seed as well, so it's definitely going to be very annoying. Will it push to ban-worthy? Possibly. I'm not a huge fan of Celesteela naturally in draft. It's just ridiculous. It's bulky, it's got so much sustain, it's very annoying to take down. This might tip it over the edge, for sure. Grassy Glide as well, really strong. Don't really care much for the rest of the moves. Mega Horn just kind of feels a little redundant anyway, though it does make sense with the top of its head. But yeah, generally speaking, Cosmic Power, brutal, don't want it. Chrysania also getting Cosmic Power and Stored Power, which is disgusting. Expanding Force as well, could be an absolute nightmare. Chrysania, of course, one of my favorite bulkier mons in draft. I've used it quite a lot over the years. It's nice that it does get some extra bulk, although I still think Carmine sets are probably nicer. Stored Power is definitely going to be disgusting though. Could definitely see this being a problem. I don't think this thing gets the best recovery outside of Moonlight though, so that's something to bear in mind. But yeah, I think generally this is going to be very strong. It's going to be insanely bulky. Probably got to jump from tier 2 to tier 1. For sure. Chrysania, I'm always surprised Cress is in tier 2 usually, but I definitely think it's a tier 1 pick. It's got way too many tools now. Diancie got some interesting buffs. It got Mystical Fire for steel types, which is nice. Definitely helpful because it's quad weak to steel. Draining Kiss is also nice for passive recovery. But the interesting things here, Stored Power again. Stored Power seems to be coming up a lot. And I got some physical moves. Play Rough and Body Press. Body Press is actually kind of bad on regular Diancie. It's better on Mega. Because I believe regular Oh no, I always forget. Is regular Diancie the bulky one? I think so. But Body Press is actually very nice for bulkier sets, of course. I don't know why you'd ever run Misty Explosion, but it's there. Meteor Beam's also fun, if you want to be a little bit cheeky. But I think Diamond Storm is still nicer. But this is a lot of power coming in. A bunch of physical moves, which is always nice. Physical Stab. Definitely nice for player off. You can actually run a lot more just physically offensive Diancies now. Now, this is going to be a very interesting shift with Kartana because Kartana getting Solar Blade, nice for Sun teams. I don't generally draft Kartana in Sun. Never really had a reason to. This might give me an option. Endure is very, very nice. So pretty much the way you beat Kartana naturally is by faster special attackers, like Dragapult being a good example in this gen. With Endure now, you can just run Endure Salak Berry, which is going to be disgusting, because now you outspeed Dragapult and you knock it out with a Dark move. Gets a knockoff if I remember right. But yeah, definitely very strong. This is a bit of a interesting one. Does make the metagame interesting because Dragapult is kind of suffocating a lot of Draft League format right now. It's very, very strong. But a lot of returning mons might put Dragapult a little bit in a better spot. Grassy Glide is fascinating. I've not really considered it, but I can definitely see like Rillaboom or Bulu plus Kartana actually being a pretty interesting pair. So definitely going to try that out when Kartana comes out, and when I get one I'll just give it a go on a ladder and see what it's like. But I can definitely see Kartana very much being a staple tier 1 pick and draft. I don't think it's ban-worthy though, but I do think it's very, very strong. So this is something to look into. Very high base power, Grassy Glide its priority. Could be disgusting in terrain. I don't think this thing actually gets grassy terrain by itself though, so that could scupper it a little bit. But I could see this being a tier 1 pick. It is... I think it's mostly associated in tier 2 right now. I could definitely see this being borderline tier 1, but I think it may still stay as a tier 2 pick. Now here we go, getting Rock Tomb, kind of nice. Still didn't get Earth Power, kind of unfortunate, but a few little new moves for it. Not really anything too special. Corrosive Gas is cool, but I'm not really a huge fan of it. Meteor Beam for power herb sets. I can definitely see Shadow AX using this to a lot of interest, but nothing too special to me. Rock Tomb's nice for speed drops, I guess, but that's about as far as it goes. I'm gonna start getting Liquidation for Shell Smashing. Kind of cool, but not really worth it. Meteor Beam, again, not really worth it, because typically you want White Herb if you're Shell Smashing. So yeah, not the best. Stack Attacker is a big one. Body Press is insane. Body Press is absolutely insane. This thing has insane defenses already, even if you're running the Lonely Nature set for being more offensive in Trick Room. Heavy Slam and Heat Crash. I don't think Stack Attack is the heaviest thing in the world, but Heat Crash does give you a way to hit Ferrothorn, which kind of wards Stack Attacker for quite a while. Body Press can also hit it as well. Obviously, it did get Superpower, but that's the drawback of lower attack, which is not really what you like, so Body Press is a kind of nice addition. High Horsepower is kind of okay, not really a huge fan of it though. And again, Meteor Beam kind of useless, because Meteor Beam doesn't do a lot. So, yeah, this is a pretty good, decent pair of new moves. Heavy Slam, obviously, if you're not running Gyro Ball, but I still think you probably run Gyro Ball anyway, because Gyro Ball's always max power, because the Stack Attack is speed tier. But I could definitely see Heat Crash and Body Press having some usage. Now, here's the biggest buff, I think, of all of the returning mons, potentially, and that's Bulu. Bulu gets Close Combat, finally gets a way to hit Steel types, which it didn't really have much before, other than Superpower, of course, but again, much like with a lot of other mons, the drawback of the minus attack kind of makes it not spammable. We finally have a spammable fighting move. We finally get Player Rough, so we actually have a physical Fairy Stab move on this thing. High Horsepower is nice, another way to hit Steel types, also a good way to hit Poison types, which kind of are the biggest problem for Bulu, given the fact it's quite weak to it. Darkest Area, not really a huge fan, doesn't really matter, but it is a possibility. But, oh boy. Now, Bulu's got an insane attack stat, and running Grassy Glide on this thing is going to be disgusting. I could definitely see, like, even just the whole move pool around grassy terrain with this actual moveset that's just bolded here. Close Combat, Player of High Horsepower, Grassy Glide with like a Banded set. This could definitely be disgusting, or even just like a Life Orb, Expert Belt type set. I can see this being very, very powerful in draft. Bulu often seen as the weaker of the Tapus, but I don't think it's the weaker one anymore. I think it's definitely caught up with its peers. This is definitely very, very potent, and I'm looking forward to giving Bulu a try. I can imagine this is definitely a very high tier 1 pick. could be very prized. Definitely exciting to give this a go. In Draft League format, I'm really excited for it. I might even give this a go in ladder with Katana and see how well that goes. Finny gets Draining Kiss, which is nice for it because it doesn't actually have reliable recovery. So Draining Kiss with Calm Mind. Pretty nice little pair of moves there. Flip Turn is very, very nice for it. One of the biggest problems that Finny had is it was very passive and it didn't really give you a lot of momentum. Much like a lot of bulky waters pre this generation, Flip Turn kind of was the answer for that. So that's kind of nice. Store Power, again, really nice for Calm Mind sets. Don't really envisage that being a thing. I didn't actually realize that Finny never got rest, which is kind of fascinating. It does now, which is good. Play Rough's kind of useless because Finny's physical attack is garbage. But yeah, in general, I think Draining Kiss and Flip Turn, probably the key parts here. Store Power maybe as well. Pretty interesting. Finny's always a very good bulky water option anyway. Definitely probably be a tier 1 pick regardless. Coco, Close Combat, nice physical move pool, Play Rough, finally good physical stab. Rising Voltage is going to be disgusting, for sure. We can definitely see a lot of that. No more Wild Charge, which is a relief. I hated Wild Charge in general. You know, Discharge probably may still have a bit of precedence as well for speed control, especially on things like Dragon Bolt, which are naturally faster. But Rising Voltage is really nice. Really looking forward to giving Coco a go. Didn't get as many moves as I thought it might. Did get Store Power, but I don't really see many setup moves on Coco very often. It's typically either Scarfed or like Specs. So this could be exciting. Definitely looking forward to giving Coco a go. Oh boy, let's talk about Laylee, shall we? Laylee typically banned in draft, and for good reason. This thing's incredibly strong in psychic terrain. So Pokemon Company thought, why not just give it Expanding Force? Let's just guarantee that it's banned in Draft League format. This is disgusting. This alone is a big enough buff, let alone everything else. Did get Rest again, which could be a thing, but I don't really see it. Future Sight, don't really see why you would ever run this with over Expanding Force. Store Power, kind of nice for Calm Mind sets. But yeah, Expanding Force in Psychic Terrain, yeah, no. I don't fancy dealing with this. This will probably get banned in ladder very quickly as well. I don't think this will ever be allowed. Psychic Terrain, Expanding Force, Focus Blast, Moonblast with a Calm Mind set, yeah, no thank you. I don't want to face that anytime soon. Thundy gets Weatherball, very nice, especially for rain teams. Really excited for that. Electric Ball's interesting, but probably won't use it. Rising Voltage, of course, much like Coco, very, very nice on this one. Definitely looking forward to giving Thundy a go. Thundy and Rain could be very, very strong. Thundy and Weather in general could also be very strong, even in things like Sand teams. Could be interesting. Sun team giving it Fire move to take on the Steels could be very nice as well. Very fascinating one. I've not really used Thundy all that much. I might try it out. I think Rising Voltage Weather Ball could be good for it. But I'd have to draft a Weather team, which I'm not huge on Weather teams in this gen, but we'll give it a go. Possibly. Torn, oh man. Torn with Nasty Plot. So Torn T, typically the bulkier one. Very good bulky pivot thanks to Regenerator. But given this thing Nasty Plot and Weather Ball, much like Thundy, very, very strong Rain one now. Definitely works very, very nicely against Rain. Could be good in Sun too, but I feel like Rain's going to be better. Especially given the fact it has Hurricane. Hurricane is going to be absolutely nasty in Rain. Nasty Plot, Weather Ball, Hurricane as a combination in Rain teams is brutal. Definitely don't want to be facing that. The rest of its moves, kind of not great. I guess Endure could be okay, but not really a fan. Lash Out, pretty bad. Don't really like Lash Out as a move in general. Not the best shooter move in the world, but it's still decent. But yeah, Raymon, absolutely. I could see DJ Burke drafting this in a Rain team for sure. Alright. Probably unviable. I feel like it's a little bit of a disservice to some of these ones, but it's a title nonetheless. Absol gets Close Combat. Roll on when Megas come back, because this is actually going to be pretty good for Mega Absol. Not so good on regular Absol. Unfortunately, Absol is a very low tier. This does give it a way to hit steals, though, which could be nice. Still, Absol didn't really do much anyway. But it's a spammable move nonetheless. It's an extra coverage move for it. Aerodactyl getting Dragon Dance dual Ring Beat, that is broken. This thing is already a very, very solid mon in general, giving it probably one of the best setup moves for physical attackers, and a very, very good sub breaker. In dual Wing Beat, finally you don't have to rely on like really bad moves. It was like Aerial Ace or Wing Attack, which was pretty much its best flying stabs, other than Fly, but we don't have Z moves, so yeah, there is that. Psychic Fangs is kind of nice as well. Nice little style breaker. Hurricane, I don't ever envisage using this because Aerodactyl's special attack is garbage. Rock Blast, much like Dual Wing Beat, kind of a decent option, but I feel like you're just going to run Stone Edge anyway. But this is actually kind of nice. We got a better flying stab move plus Dragon Dance. Definitely really excited to use this. This is broken on Mega Aerodactyl, by the way. So if Megas do come back, definitely don't fancy this. It's worth pointing out that a lot of these Pokemon do have Megas. So that could be an indication that Megas are coming back. I doubt it, though. Aggron gets Body Press. That's broken on Mega Aggron. Definitely don't fancy that. High horsepower, kind of nice as well. Very, very powerful moves for it. Finally, we don't need superpower, which is good. Body Press on Mega Aggron is actually just flat out broken. I could definitely see Mega Aggron getting banned in a Mega Draft League. Regular Aggron, unfortunately, isn't the best, though, stat-wise. So it's got good physical defense, though, which can really utilize Body Press nicely. But yeah, in general, there's a few extra coverage moves for its move pool. And Hydro Pump, I believe it actually got Water Pulse before. So it gets a better water move if it really wants to run special. Crunch is nice. Crunch is definitely okay. But yeah, aside from that, probably not the best buffs. Altaria got a very interesting one. Dual Wing Beat, pretty nice for it. Pairs up nicely with Dragon Dance, of course. But Fire Spin is probably the most underrated pick here. Now, Altaria does already get Perish Song, so Perish Trap is definitely a thing now. It didn't actually get a trapping move before this, I checked. It doesn't get Block, it doesn't get Whirlpool or anything like that. But it does get Fire Spin now, so Perish Trap could be a thing. Be careful about that. That could definitely be an interesting set. We could definitely see this being a thing. Probably not, though. I can still just see, like, Dragon Dance with Dual Wing Beat. Maybe Break and Swipe, who knows. But, yeah. New little toy for Altaria to play with. Archeops getting Dual Wing Beat. Pretty nice. Aside from that, there's not really a lot here that I particularly like. Rock Blast is okay, I guess. But just means that you don't have to run moves that lower your HP, which is good for its ability. Air Slash is okay for special, but I don't think I've ever run a special Archeops before. But it's there nonetheless. A few little additional toys for it. Armada gets only one decent move here, which is Shadow Claw. Bit of extra coverage, I guess, but nothing too special. Articuno getting Weather Ball is interesting. Could be good for a Hail team. Gets Brave Bird if you really want to run physical. Air Slash is nice if you don't want to rely on Hurricane. Dual Wing Beat and Triple Axle, pretty good little tutor moves in general, but I still feel like Articuno doesn't get the best buff in the world except for Weather Ball. I don't think Articuno's got the best physical stats in the world, but I feel like a lot of these buffs are potentially due to the regional Articuno that's coming, so that could also be an indicator as to why they get these moves. Audino gets some normal moves. It didn't actually get Body Slam before, which I actually thought it did. Now it does, which is good for little bits of annoyance being bulky. Body Slam, spreading paralysis around. Speed control is actually kind of nice. Just ask the table flippers in the EDL. But yeah, I feel like this is a nice little set of moves. Body Slam probably the best of these. Obviously it gets normal stab because return's no longer a thing. Aurora's getting Weather Ball, which is kind of nice for Hail, although it does get Freeze Dry still. So that's probably pretty much the only thing. Mudshot is okay. I like Mudshot for lowering speed. But again, a lot of these are physical moves, but Aurora doesn't have the best physical attack in the world. Azelf got some pretty nice buffs. Stored Power coming in. Drain Punch for recovery is interesting. Obviously, this is a very good offensive mon in general. Draining Kiss also there. Very decent. So, Drain Punch obviously for the steals, which kind of did a lot of work on Azelf, as did the Dark moves, which Draining Kiss also helps with. Metronome for a bit of shenanigans. If Sylvie's watching this, then maybe he'll consider that instead of Mew. Just kidding, of course. But yeah, Stored Power, Play Rough's okay, and Expanding Force for Psychic Terrain could be interesting, especially on a very offensive mon. Don't know how good Azelf will be in draft. It might jump up a tier, but I think it's usually a tier 2, which is probably where it belongs in general. Blacephalon got some new tools. Blacephalon, obviously frail as all heck. Defensive stats are made of twigs, but Solar Beam good for some teams. Could also be Power Herb set. Scorching Sands is very nice, and Expanding Force could be good in terrain, but I doubt that will ever be a thing. Mystical Fire is a nice little addition in case you don't want to run Mind Blown, because Mind Blown, of course, blows up half your health bar, which is not ideal. Otherwise, it gets a bunch of physical moves, which I don't ever see it running, but some really nice special additions. Solar Moon could be exciting for a Sun team. But yeah, I think Solar Beam, Mystical Fire, Scorching Sands, probably the best moves you can get here. Will it jump up a tier? I doubt it. I still think it's like a tier 2, tier 3 pick in general. Special fire types are generally not my cup of tea. I generally prefer physical fires. But Blacephalon could be an interesting option. Could definitely be a bit of competition for Chandelure. So I could see this being a tier 3 / tier 2 pick. Boswell, oh boy, this got some really nice little new moves. Close combat, finally, no hammer arm, no superpower, which have major drawbacks. Close combat, extremely spammable. High horsepower, kind of nice as well, but not the best. Darkest Lariat's interesting. I don't think Darkest Lariat's going to have the biggest value in the world. And Wing Beat, of course, always a nice little extra move on physical attackers. So a bunch of new coverage moves. I could be excited for this. Obviously, insanely good stab in close combat. Definitely looking forward to giving Boswell a go. Might draft it. Will it jump up a tier? Yeah, I think so. I think close combat gives it a bit of an edge. It's got a lot of natural bulk and a very, very good physical attack stat. So I could definitely see close combat being a little bit of a deal breaker for leaving it in as low tier as it is. I think it's been a tier 3 / tier 4 pick. I think it's definitely a stable tier 3, potentially a tier 2, even borderline. Kind of difficult because there's a lot of decent bugs in the game. So Boswell could have some competition, but I think close combat gives it a bit of an edge. Carbink, don't really care that much about. Does get body press, I guess, which is interesting, but nothing too special. Caracosta didn't really get the best moves in the world, although Power Hub Meteor Beam does sound kind of exciting. But yeah, didn't get the best moves. Mud Shot's okay as well for speed control, but generally not really the best move pool gains. Cradily getting Grassy Terrain and Grassy Glide kind of could be fun, I guess, but I feel like Cradily's better on the special side, so physical moves don't really appeal to me all that much. Meteor Beam could be fun for some meme sets. Mud Shot as well. Definitely interesting. Does get Power Whip now, which could be nice. So yeah, a few little options there. Nasty Bat got better. It finally got Hurricane. Took it long enough. Dual Wind Beat for physical attackers as well. This could be fun. Nasty Bat is one of my favorite Crobat sets. We don't see it all that often because its physical variant and its Starbreaker variant are generally considered better. But Nasty Bat could be better now, with thanks to Hurricane. Cryogonal getting Triple Axle. That could be good. Shoutouts to my friend Mr. Pikalank. He likes Cryogonal. That's his favorite mon. Icicle Spear. I didn't actually realize I didn't already get that. I thought I'd already had that before. Kind of decent extra ice moves for it. Okay, little moves. Again, it's generally a bulky defogger, so you don't really see it all that much. Dragonite. Dragonite got Scale Shot, which is kind of disgusting, but I like it nonetheless. And Dual Wing Beat as well. So couple of decent extra stab moves for it. The rest of its moves, kind of okay, I guess. Special Dragonite got a little bit of a buff. Got Hydro Pump, which is okay. Air Slash if you don't want to run Hurricane. Pretty nice for it. I still think the physical set's probably going to be better. Dragon Dance is probably still going to be better than Scale Shot, but it's still perfectly viable. Body Press. I mean, I don't think Dragonite, physically bulky-wise, is good enough to run Body Press, but it's there nonetheless. And also a trapping move in Fire Spin. Electivire getting Darkest Lariat. Why is this thing not a Dark type? Rising Voltage, kind of okay as well. Weather Ball, I don't think it's that great. I think Electivire is better on the physical side. So Darkest Lariat could be a thing. But again, Electivire is still a very low tier pick. Don't really see it getting any better. Entei getting Flare Blitz. Previously only event only, which is nice for it. Scorching Sands could be good for Calm Mindsets. So Entei definitely got some nice little buffs. Very good physical fire in general. I think it's occasionally been a tier 3 pick. Flare Blitz could make it a tier 2 because it can actually run it without actually being blatantly obvious. Could be a decent solid tier 2. There's a lot of good physical fires in the game though, because it will be competing with things like Cinderace, which will probably be in tier 2, things like, you know, Darmanitan and stuff like that. This could be decent enough competition, but it still may end up being a tier 3 pick. But I think it's an interesting thing. Weather Ball again for Rain could be fascinating, but I don't think it's going to be that good. Garchomp getting Scale Shot, kind of taking over from Haxorus, being the SD Scale Shot type set. Will definitely be better than Haxorus and displace Haxorus from tier 2. I can see Garchomp slotting in at tier 1 though, so this could definitely be a thing. Scorching Sands for special, which is better for Mega Garchomp, not regular Garchomp. But nonetheless, Scale Shot's going to be the bigger highlight here for that. Definitely Scale Shot plus Earthquake and Stone Edge. Very, very strong coverage in general and very, very hard to break down. So definitely excited to give Garchomp a go. This is definitely a stable tier 1. Guzzlord, not the heaviest thing in the world, so it can't really take advantage of Heat Crash, and it doesn't actually have that good defense. It's kind of a bit of a misnomer, but most of Guzzlord's bulk is in its HP stat, so Body Press probably not really going to be that good. Didn't really get a lot of good moves. Its only real stab that it got was Lash Out. I don't think is going to be all that great, to be honest. High horsepower is okay for steals, I guess, but that's pretty much it. I don't think that Guzzlord's going to get a big enough buff. Heatran getting Heavy Slam and Heat Crash, which is kind of nice for it. Body Slam, decent for its physical bulk. Scorching Sands is probably my highlight here, though. Definitely my favorite of these moves. Getting a bit of extra burn, so if you really want to try and burn something, Lava Plume plus Scorching Sands, very nice. Obviously, Heatran didn't do the best into fire types in previous times. Scorching Sands is nice for it, though. You can actually just run it fully special if you wanted to. Or you could run it a bit physical, maybe bulky physical with Heavy Slam, Heat Crash. Don't remember how heavy Heatran is. I don't know if it's super heavy, but it could be interesting nonetheless. Definitely probably a staple tier 1, I'd say. Jinx, always a low tier mon, gets Psychic Terrain and Expanding Force, kind of interesting. It's got some physical moves. I think actually Jinx has famously been relatively physical in the past, so Triple Axle and Psycho Cut, kind of nice little stabs for it. Not the hugest fan of this mon in general, personally. Nicki Minaj doesn't really appeal to me all that much as a nice type, but as a low tier it could definitely be a little bit of a buff pick. I don't remember if Jinx is tier 5 or not, but I could see it being tier 5/tier 4. Kabutops getting some extra physical moves to play with, definitely nice for rain teams. Probably not really that great for anything else, but generally speaking, Psycho Cut for fighting types, always nice. But yeah, there isn't a lot here. Cross Poison for grass types, but I think it gets Poison Jab anyway, so I don't think that's the biggest deal. But Leech Life, of course, for grass types for recovery, pretty nice for it. Meteor Beam's kind of useless because Kabutop's special attack is garbage. The Laddies, oh god, these were already tier 1 picks in draft, but I feel like these are going to get banned. So Game Freak pretty much gave the Laddies every tool they need to be able to deal with its checks. It's Mystical Fire to deal with the Steel types that switched in on it, then Aura Sphere for things like Tyrannodar, which kind of switched in on it relatively freely, and then they just gave it Dual Wing Beat and Scale Shot if you really want the physical variants. But they gave this to both. Baton Pass is not the biggest in draft because often draft leagues will either have Dry Pass or ban Baton Pass in general. So Baton Pass is not huge for us in draft league format, but it's definitely very, very strong in ladder. Dragon Dance could definitely be disgusting. Notably, it says it on Latias, but not on Latios. I don't remember if Latios already got Dragon Dance. It might have done. Not entirely sure. But boy, Aura Sphere for dark types that famously switched in on it, and then Mystical Fire for steel types that famously switched in on it. And these already have reliable recovery because they have access to Roost. So, yeah, boy, these are going to get banned. I think these are normal tier 1 picks in previous gens, but I think they're banned in this generation. I think this is too strong now. They definitely overbuffed this. Magmortar gets some extra moves to play with. Scorching Sands is nice for opposing fires. Mystical Fire. Also nice, got very decent offensive stats in general. So Weather Ball could make it interesting in rain. Obviously a better fire move as well for sun. Scorching Sands is nice for opposing fires. Mystical Fire good for steals, but we're already going to be able to run like Flamethrower / Fire Blast. So these are definitely extra tools for Magmortar to play with. Is it enough to buff it into a higher tier? Possibly. Not entirely sure. Magmortar is usually like tier 4, which I feel like is probably just about right for it. There's a lot of better fires out there in the game. Mesprit got some nice new tools to play with. Nasty Plot, Stored Power, Drain Punch and Draining Kiss, much like the other late guys. Mesprit's kind of in the middle of everything, Yuxi being, of course, the bulky one, and Azelf being the offensive one, so this kind of gives it a little bit more tools to be more offensive. Expanding Force is nice, but it doesn't actually get Psychic Terrain here. Don't know if it already got it. I don't think so. It might have done, but not entirely convinced. But yeah, Mesprit definitely got a few extra tools. Encore, which is nice, so you can't get taunt baited, because Mesprit often just ran like single attacking moves. But now it has tools to deal with the dark types, so usually Wild Mesprit, Draining Kiss, Drain Punch as well. Pretty disgusting. Play Rough also very good to dealing with the darks. So nice. Metagross kind of disappointing. Did get Cosmic Power, which is interesting, but aside from that, Psycho Cut's better than Zen Headbutt, even though it's slightly weaker, but it's 100% accurate. So that's fine. Expanding Force for Special Metagross. I really wish this thing got Close Combat. Sadly, it doesn't, so you're still running with Hammer Arm, which sucks. That could definitely be a bit of a bind. But nonetheless, I think Metagross with Close Combat would have jumped up a tier. I think Metagross is always a solid tier 2 in general. I don't think it's tier 1, and I certainly don't think it's tier 3. Cosmic Power could make it more annoying. Maltress! Maltress got some additional stuff with definitely heavy duty boots. Mystical Fire could be really, really annoying, especially for water types. I did get Brave Bird, dual Wing Beat, got some physical moves. Scorching Sands is fantastic for it. Gives it a way to hit the electric types that normally switch in on it. Hail, bizarrely enough. Don't quite know why it gets Hail. Maybe because of the regional variant, but that's definitely a bit of a strange one. But Weather Ball's always good. Weather Ball, due to missing hidden power, is always a nice little move. Scorching Sands, again, phenomenal. So, a lot of new tools to play with for Moltres. Could be very annoying with a heavy duty boot set, especially with Mystical Fire. So, excited to give Moltres a go. The Nidos are back. Honestly, I don't think many of these are super good high horsepower body press potentially, but a lot of these have secondary effects, so sheer force is actually going to be a lot worse for these moves because the secondary effects won't actually proc, but they will be pretty powerful moves in general. Scorching Sands, I think, is slightly better than Earth Power. Not entirely sure. Earth Power may still be better. But yeah, generally, I don't think these are particularly good additional moves. Sand Tomb, I guess, for trapping, but I don't know why you would ever really want to trap. These Pokemon are not super fast, so that could be a thing, but I don't think these are big enough buffs. But either way, it's nice to see the Nidos back. Reiko got a lot of cool stuff. It finally got Scald to replace the Hidden Power Ice, so it can actually deal with ground types. Aura Sphere, previously only a vent move, which is actually very nice because running Rash Nature, Shiny Reiko, was kind of a bit of giveaway that you had Aura Sphere. Now you can actually run it naturally and still run Timid Nature, which means you got a bit more flexibility with Reiko. Weather Ball, of course, again, previously event only, another answer for rain teams. So if you're running rain, you can run Weather Ball instead of Scald. But I do think it's pretty strong. Rising Voltage is very nice, especially when you pair it up with electric terrain. It's a lot of setup, but it's still a thing. Reiko, always fast electrics are always generally somewhat popular in draft. I think this is a tier 3 pick. Naturally, I don't think this is enough to jump it up to tier 2. I think it's largely replacing what it already lost. So I think this is perfectly fine as a tier 3 pick. Regice, Icicle Spear, Heavy Slam, don't really care. Regice is not really that great anyway. Regigigas gets Rest and Protect to stall out Slow Start, which is nice. Gets a few additional tools, Body Press probably being the best of them, and has got a pretty high defense there. High Horsepower, Darkest Lariat, and Heat Crash, pretty decent. And Darkest Lariat, maybe less so because it does get knockoff already, and it does replace the normal stabs that it lost when it lost Return and stuff like that. So Mega Punch, Mega Kick, Body Slam, kind of the standard trio of normal moves that kind of replace Return. So yeah, Body Slam probably the best of them. Again, Regirock getting Body Press is actually nice for it because it already gets Iron Defense, so Body Press is a really good addition. Heavy Slam is also very nice for it as well. Flash Cannon less so, but these are kind of nice. Rock Blast is good for sub abusers. Sand Tomb for trapping, but again, I don't know why you'd run that with Regirock, but I think Body Press definitely the highlight. Registeel finally gets Heavy Slam. We've previously only ever run Iron Head on it because it never got Heavy Slam, which is something I didn't actually know about until I started preparing for this video. And then Body Press, again, Registeel's got insane physical bulk as well as special bulk, so Body Press is exceptional on this mon. Typically, you see like a lot of T-Wave variants of this, Rocks T-Wave, Steel move. Body Press could definitely be the last move it runs. Relicanth gets some nice little moves for more defensive variants, Liquidation and Body Press, kind of interesting. It gets Scale Shot, bizarrely enough. Don't quite know why it gets Scale Shot. I guess technically because of its somewhat scales on its body, I guess. But yeah, a few little extra physical moves to run. It's always a very low tier mon in general. I don't think this is going to get any better. This is a low tier water type, so it's not the best. Salamence, typical tier 1 pick, gets some special moves to play with. Sadly, no Mega Salamence to actually take advantage of this, but definitely kind of interesting nonetheless. Hurricane, I think, probably the highlight here. It does get Scale Shot as well, which is nice for the physical variant, but I still think Dragon Dance is probably going to be better on Salamence. So, definitely interesting. A few little extra tools to play with. Dual Wing Beat as well. Nice. Sceptile finally gets Dragon Dance, which is fantastic for Mega Sceptile. But this is actually a very, very solid additional set of moves, as well as Grassy Glide, and got a Scale Shot as well for extra Dragon Stab. I think Mega Sceptile is better on the specially offensive side, if I remember correctly, but for regular Sceptile, this is actually kind of disgusting. This actually gives you a lot of extra options, a lot of tools to play with. Cross Poison's good for fairies, especially for Mega Sceptile. Grassy Glide's phenomenal. But again, Sceptile are pretty low tier mon in general. It will probably stay low tier, but it might jump up maybe a little bit, but it'll definitely have a little bit of priority on it. Spiritomb getting Poltergeist is fantastic for it. Phantom Force, maybe it's decent for stalling. Spiritomb does get pressure, if I remember right, so this could be interesting. Phantom Force plus Poltergeist gives it a little bit of offensive pressure, but generally speaking, Spiritomb is always like a mid-tier Pokemon. Some people draft it because of obviously it's only one weakness to Fairy, but I don't really see this being like super good. I think most Spiritombs are Calm Mind, so that's probably the thing. Suicune getting Weather Ball, so you don't have to run Scald. Air Slash is actually very nice for it as well. Liquidation, funny enough, probably never going to get run, but it's a nice water move nonetheless. I mean, Suicune does get Curse, I guess, so Liquidation could be a funny thing, but I'm not running that anytime soon. Someone else can do that for me. But yeah, Weather Ball, Air Slash, definitely kind of nice. Air Slash previously event only. Little additional move pool. Swampert got some fantastic moves for its Mega. Body Press, pretty good for its defensive stats. Liquidation is way better than running things like Aqua Tail. Or Waterfall, which is previously what you run. High Horsepower, I think it gets Earthquake anyway, but this is good for grassy terrain. Bulk Up is fantastic. For Mega Swampert, Bulk Up is an exceptional move. And Darkest Lariat, always nice. Extra little coverage move. Tyrantrum gets Close Combat, which is a spammable move for Banded sets or Scarf sets. High Horsepower, but it gets Earthquake, but it's nice to have it in terrain. Scale Shot is an interesting little option. Obviously, this thing does already get Dragon Dance, but you can run Scale Shot into, like, Rock-Headed Head Smash. That could definitely be disgusting, because then you then suddenly start outspeeding things that are designed to outspeed you, and then just hit them like a truck. Tyrantrum, of course, very, very high attack stat, which makes it very, very fun to use. I love this mon. I really have always wanted to draft it again. I've drafted it before, and I love using it. So I hope I can get access to this. It's going to be a very, very decent physically offensive dragon type. I think it's tier 3 often. I could definitely see it being tier 3, borderline tier 2, but I think it'll probably stay tier 3. But it'll be very, very high on the tier 3 list, especially for priority rides. Uxie, very bulky, gets Nasty Plot Stored Power, which can run a bit more offensively now, expanding force, but no Psychic Terrain. I don't know if it already got it. But Drain Punch, Draining Kiss, kind of nice as well, just like the rest of the Lake Trio. Generally pretty much the same moves that they got in general. So, nice little buffs to Uxie, but again, it's more of a bulky mon, so I don't see Uxie using a lot of these, but I could see the Psychic Stored Power especially being a bit of a thing. Victini got some new moves, nothing too special though. Baton Pass, again, typically Dry Pass or Abandoned Draft League, so not the best. But Blaze Kick is nice if you don't want the drawback from V-Create. An Expanding Force for Psychic Terrain and Scorching Sands if you're running the special variant, which can be a thing. Victini has equal stats across the board. So, a few little new tools to play with. Mystical Fire is nice for the water types that switch in on it quite a lot, like Rotom Wash being a good one. So Victini got some nice little tools, nothing too special though. Volcanion got some new moves, but honestly, it's not really ever going to use it. Heavy Slam and Heat Crash, it doesn't weigh enough for. Body Press, probably not the best. Scorching Sands is okay though. Nice little extra move for it, but yeah, generally it's new moves, not super great. I don't see Volcanion changing all that much. Walrein, for some reason, gets Sword Stance. Don't quite know why. I'm guessing it's probably because of its tusks. But sure, whatever. Walrein's still a very low tier mon. I don't think this is going to get any better. Body Press is nice because it's actually got a lot of great natural bulk. It's got a decent HP stat and some pretty good physical defense as well. So Body Press could be interesting. Liquidation okay as well. It pairs up nicely with the Sword Stance, I guess. An Icicle Spear. But yeah, I don't really see this doing all that much. Heavy Slam is a thing, I guess. But yeah, not really the best. So probably won't be jumping any tiers. Xurkitree, kind of sad it didn't get Weather Ball. Would have liked it to have had Weather Ball. But Rising Voltage is probably its best highlights. Electro Ball is interesting as well if you're running agility sets. But I think Rising Voltage is going to be the priority here. Pretty interesting one nonetheless. I don't think it will jump up a tier though. Zapdos again gets Hail, kind of weird, but it does get Brave Bird now, which is probably better for the regional variant rather than this one. Hurricane is fantastic though. Zapdos in rain teams has always been a very, very viable pick. Giving it 100% accurate Hurricanes is kind of disgusting. It already gets Thunder as well, so 100% accurate stab moves, pretty nasty on this thing. It's got a great typing in general. Dual Wing Beat's kind of okay for physical variants, I guess, but I won't use it, and Rising Voltage is there as well. But yeah, those are the new moves. I'm definitely most excited to give Tyrantrum a go. Victini, if it doesn't get banned, it probably won't. Registeel could definitely jump up a tier. I like Registeel anyway. I've drafted it before. One of my favorite mons. Raiko gets a lot of its tools back. There's a lot of cool stuff here. The Lardis are going to get banned. Almost 100% in my opinion. I feel like these are too good. Heatran's going to be exciting to have back. Dragonite's going to be really fun to use. There's a lot of cool stuff I really want to try out in draft when the DLC drops. But either way, guys, let me know what your favorite pick or your favorite new move that these Pokemon got on the way back. And also let me know if you're disappointed and the Gliscor's not back, because I'm kind of sad that it's not here. But either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Rybomby Teacher. Stay safe, stay awesome, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.